On this Sunday night, Canada continues its quest for medals. A historic hammer throw gold for the youngest Olympic champion to take the title. And we bring home bronze in the boxing ring.
Super glad that we were able to bring back a medal for Canada.
Plus, Belgium forced to forfeit the mixed triathlon as an athlete is hospitalized after swimming in the polluted Seine. High-risk takedown in Toronto.
He was shot in the upper leg. It was a serious injury.
An off-duty cop recognizes a suspect wanted on a Canada-wide warrant and gets shot during the arrest. The firefight turns fatal. A firefighter is dead after battling out-of-control wildfires in Jasper National Park. Plus, anti-immigration mobs get out of hand in England.
This is not protest. It is organised, violent thuggery.
The British Prime Minister promising to crack down on racist rioters who attacked a hotel housing asylum seekers.
Global National. Reporting tonight, Tracy Tong.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. It has been an electrifying Olympics for Team Canada so far, powered by historic performances throughout the Games. From Canada's first gold medal in judo last week to a triple gold hat trick, courtesy of swimmer Summer McIntosh, there is no shortage of Canadian pride going around in Paris. And even though they can't win them all, today still saw yet another remarkable first by a Canadian athlete. Redmond Shannon is in Paris with our top story tonight.
An unusual feeling for Summer McIntosh in Paris, an agonising fourth place as part of Canada's medley relay team. The men's relay foursome also edged into fifth in their final, both very respectable ways to end a glittering week in the water. Canada's swimmers ending their games with 8 medals, 4 of them from Toronto's teenage superstar. For Team Canada, week 1 of the Games has been dominated by gold, silver and bronze in the pool. And now here at the Stade de France, you can add another medal to the mix: steel. World champion Ethan Katzberg in the hammer throw final. The man from Nanaimo, bar none, is now undisputed as the best in the world, joining McIntosh and Krista Deguchi in Canada's Golden Circle. The electric athletics atmosphere sampled by this US-Canadian couple with split loyalties.
Once again, I rooted for both.
I mean, it really wasn't a contest. Track and field, US dominates.
Yeah.
The Lims, who coach kids volleyball in Pennsylvania, inspired to travel for sports and for the setting.
A couple years ago when they announced that volleyball would be at the base of the Eiffel Tower, that was the dream.
Yep.
And I said, that's it. I want to go to the Olympics for the first time. And last night, it rained a little, but the atmosphere was amazing. And Canada won, and US won in their match.
Won as well.
Elsewhere in the boxing ring, Wyatt Sanford lost his 63-kilo semi-final, meaning he earns a bronze.
Feels awesome. Super glad that we were able to bring back a medal for Canada.
The Nova Scotian revealing the pain he had to go through to get Canada's first boxing medal in 28 years. A ruptured tendon in his thumb.
I wasn't really able to use my hand at all. And up until April, I wasn't even hitting a heavy bag.
For all the Canadian highs today, there was disappointment for 6-time Canadian Olympic medalist Andre de Grasse. He missed out on the men's 100-metre final. That title of world's fastest man instead went to American Noah Lyles, who crossed the line 5 thousandths of a second ahead of Jamaica's Kashane Thompson. Tracy?
Another action-packed day. Our Redmond Shannon in Paris for us. Thank you. And with 5 gold, along with 4 silver and 8 bronze, Canada sits at 11th place in the standings based on gold medal wins. The U.S. and China are tied at the top with 19 gold each, but the Americans lead with the overall medal count. Canadian track and field Olympian Damian Warner has spoken out about his sudden exit from decathlon events following his poor pole vaulting performance yesterday.
Unfortunately, my worst nightmare came true and had to drop out of the competition just because I wasn't able to clear that bar. And this one's going to hurt for a really long time because this is something that I really wanted to do.
Warner, who previously won gold for the men's decathlon in Tokyo, failed to place a height in pole vaulting. He knocked down the bar in all 3 of his attempts. That effectively took him out of medal contention for the decathlon events. The cleanliness of the Seine River in Paris is under scrutiny again as Belgium forfeits tomorrow's mixed relay triathlon after one of its team members got sick. In a statement, Team Belgium says Claire Michel had to withdraw due to an unspecified illness. Just days ago, she swam in the Seine, competing in the women's triathlon. A Belgian newspaper reports she had contracted E. coli. That claim has not been verified. Pollution levels in the Seine spiked last week due to rainy weather. That ended up delaying the men's triathlon last week, as well as canceling multiple training sessions for triathletes. A Taiwanese boxer at the center of a gender controversy has fought her way into a medal position. Lin Yu-ting won her match today, joining Algeria's Imane Khelif in the semifinals. Their inclusion in the Games has sparked a torrent of backlash, but the International Olympic Committee has staunchly defended both athletes, confirming they are both women. Bianca Facchinei reports.
Taiwan's Lin Yu-ting secured another medal in the boxing ring Sunday morning against Bulgaria's Svetlana Staneva. But the match didn't end without controversy. Staneva made an X symbol with her fingers, purportedly referring to female chromosomes, something her opponent and another female boxer, Imane Khelif of Algeria, are accused of not having. And her coach, implying judges were influenced to award the win to Lin. Many fans like this one say, I believe in the decision made by the IOC and its impartiality, though others are still uncertain.
So far I've been respecting that decision because there's not that much that can be done about it. But yeah, I'm not sure myself whether I trust it fully or not.
Both boxers were cleared to compete in Paris this year, but they were disqualified from the 2023 World Championships after failing the International Boxing Association's eligibility rules. The president of the IBA said the test showed both had XY chromosomes, though the results were never published. The IOC claims those tests were illegitimate.
The tests themselves, the process of the tests, the ad hoc nature of the tests are not legitimate, and you'll also expect me to tell you that I'm not going to discuss the individual intimate details of athletes in public, which I think is pretty disgraceful for those who've leaked that material.
And the committee stripped the association's role as boxing's governing body last year, instead applying the 2016 and 2021 Olympic eligibility rules to this year's Games. The story exploded across social media, making its way to former U.S. President Donald Trump, who posted that he, quote, will keep men out of women's sports if he's elected. Lin and Khelif, who have long been competing as women, will be allowed to remain in the Olympics and have the full backing of the IOC. Bianca Facchinei, Global News, Washington.
Now, not all winners at the Paris Olympics represent individual countries. A little later in the show, we'll introduce you to the Refugee Olympic team and some historic firsts for migrant Olympians. Turning now to the fires burning out of control in Alberta's Jasper National Park, and some tragic news underscoring the dangers facing those on the front lines. A 24-year-old firefighter has been killed while on duty in the park. Fire crews and residents lining the streets of Jasper for a procession earlier today to honor the young man. The firefighter, who has not been identified, was seriously injured by a falling tree while fighting an active fire north of Jasper on Saturday. He was flown by helicopter to hospital and later died. And as you can imagine, the fires in Jasper are still very active, and fire crews are working around the clock to keep the blaze from re-entering the town site. To help with the effort, firefighters from the Maritimes are heading to the region. Some of them had just returned home from fighting fires in BC. Emma Convey reports.
A joint crew of 34 firefighters are traveling across the country to lend a helping hand.
Nova Scotia is sending 29, PEI is sending 5, and so we've configured them as two 17-person crews. And they're known as what's expanded attack or sustained action crews.
Wildfires in recent years are becoming more extreme, including last year.
We haven't seen that level this year in terms of numbers and area burned, but it certainly is a severe season, which has required a fair bit of mobilization across Canada.
This will be the fourth effort from Nova Scotians to assist this season. This time around, the crew's role will be to start extinguishing the fires.
Oftentimes they try to get IA crews, so initial attack crews, to go action them first to keep them small, but sometimes when that's not possible, they grow larger. So that's the case with this one. It's currently 32,000 hectares, so we'll get a ton of crews on it.
For missions like these, it's the Type 1 wildland firefighters that volunteer their services.
Each province has their own Type 1s, which are the most capable. So we have specialized courses and specialized training, as well as training with helicopter hover exits.
For some, it's a quick turnaround, including a 20-person team that just returned home from British Columbia on Monday.
I go when they call. That's kind of what we do.
Nova Scotian firefighter Brennan Ash has been responding to wildfires for the past 12 years.
12-hour days, you're up, you eat, you travel, you work all day on the fire, you travel back, and you redo it every day.
The mission itself will be around 16 to 18 days, 14 of those on the ground and on the fire line. Members of the team making their way to Alberta tell me they'll be briefed upon arrival in Jasper. And the team's first day on the fire line will likely be Monday. Tracy, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Emma. Now to a bizarre shooting incident in Canada's biggest city last night. A Toronto police officer is recovering from his injuries after being struck by a bullet in the leg. The officer was off duty downtown when he recognized a suspect being sought on a Canada-wide warrant. Let's go to Kayla McLean in Toronto for the details on what happened next. Kayla.
Tracy, this officer is lucky to be alive after being shot during the takedown of this wanted suspect here in this area of King and Bathurst. And police are saying if it wasn't for the sharp eyes of this off-duty officer, there's a good chance the suspect would still be on the loose. The events unfolded just before 11:45 Saturday night. Police say while an off-duty officer was out in the area of Bathurst and King Street West, he happened to recognize this man, 30-year-old Javel Jackson from Toronto, wanted on a Canada-wide warrant for the attempted murder of a man he's alleged to have shot last December in the Church Street and the Front Street area.
He promptly alerted on-duty officers, and they approached the suspect to place him under arrest.
A short foot chase ensued, followed by a takedown, during which Jackson shot the off-duty officer.
He was shot in the upper leg. It was a serious injury, but he was treated and released.
The association as well will be there for anything the family needs or the officer needs, assisting obviously with process through the recovery. Any kind of mental health supports as well.
Police say Jackson was arrested and now faces several additional charges, including another count of attempted murder and numerous additional firearm charges. Police today crediting the keen eye of the off-duty officer for the arrest.
This very astute officer works in 51 Division. The occurrence from December, Church Street and Front Street East is 51 Division area, so I imagine that assisted in this incredibly astute officer's having the image in his mind.
Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow posting on X earlier this afternoon saying, "I wish the officer a quick recovery from his injuries and offer my full support. Violence is never acceptable." Police pointing out at today's presser that this is yet another example of the great risks posed to officers even when off duty. Back to you.
Kayla McLean in Toronto. Thanks, Kayla. Nestle Canada has issued a voluntary recall for a product under its popular Gerber baby food brand. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency is warning against eating Gerber oat banana and mango baby cereal, labeled with the details here on your screen. They are possibly contaminated with Chronobacter, a bacteria that can cause serious or fatal infections, especially for newborns. Consumers are being asked to throw out the products and contact Nestle Consumer Services for reimbursement. Up next, escalating protests in England. The ugly scenes outside a hotel housing asylum seekers and what the British Prime Minister called the violent perpetrators. Stay with us. There is an escalating security situation in the United Kingdom to tell you about tonight. For days, anti-immigrant far-right protesters have been clashing with police after a teenager they incorrectly claim is an immigrant allegedly stabbed and killed 3 girls and wounded many others at a dance class last week. It was a scary scene earlier today outside a hotel housing asylum seekers in this town in South Yorkshire. Anti-immigration protesters hurling objects at police and attacking the building. It prompted an angry response from the country's newly elected Prime Minister.
This is not protest. It is organised, violent thuggery, and it has no place on our streets or online.
Keir Starmer is vowing to use the full force of the law to prosecute the attackers. He went on to describe them as racists whose actions and words threaten the security of the United Kingdom. There was a major display of force by Ukraine's military today. After months of delay, the country showcased 4 American-made F-16 fighter jets that its Western allies have donated. Flanked by 2 of the jets at an undisclosed location, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed hopes that the warplanes can radically alter the calculus of his country's fight against Russia's much more extensive air fleet. But Zelensky admitted his country does not yet have enough fully trained fighter pilots to fly the jets, more of which should be arriving in the coming weeks. And the Ukrainian military also saying it has sunk this Russian submarine in the Crimea region, which has been under Moscow's control for over a decade. It's the latest in a spate of long-range attacks by Ukraine against Russian targets. Forecasters in the U.S. are warning of catastrophic flooding from a tropical storm that's approaching the Florida coast. Tropical storm Debbie is strengthening in the Gulf of Mexico and is expected to reach hurricane status before it makes landfall east of Tallahassee Monday morning. The major issue is how slow it will move. Sandbagging is underway, with the storm expected to stall over South Carolina and Georgia. It could set a record dumping of close to a meter of rain by Friday, causing widespread flooding. Ahead, an urgent call for blood donors to roll up their sleeves this long weekend. Why the demand? This long weekend, the Canadian Blood Services is urging people to consider donating blood, as demand usually spikes during the summer. The CBS says it has enough blood and plasma for now, but as Catherine Ward explains, that could change quickly if they don't get enough donations.
At this Canadian Blood Services clinic in Toronto's East End, a tale of 2 donations played out side by side this week. A first-time donor,
feeling good,
sitting next to a professional, Nazir Jaffer.
Today it's 4:31.
Over his life, Jaffer has donated whole blood, platelets, and plasma.
I never miss my appointment. Every Tuesday I'm here. It's like my second home.
Hematologist Dr. Aditi Kandalwal explains in Canada there is a continuous need because donations have a short shelf life.
Our platelets are only valid for 7 days and red blood cells for 42 days, which means that anytime anybody in the hospital needs blood, we need to make sure there are people coming in to support them, including on long weekends.
Backlogs from the pandemic mean more blood is being used.
Overall, we're doing more procedures in the hospitals, we're seeing more surgeries, and we're still catching up from all of the delays during COVID. People are presenting with much more severe forms of illnesses, which means we need more blood.
1 in 2 Canadians are eligible to give blood, but only 1 in 76 will actually roll up their sleeves. Canadian Blood Services says more than 50,000 appointments need to be filled across Canada between now and Labor Day in order to keep up with demand. Those with O negative, O positive, or B negative are encouraged to think about donating. On this particular afternoon, many answered the call with reasons of their own.
Both my parents at some point in time needed blood for various reasons, for surgeries and for cancer research.
It's life-giving. I've got it in me. It's easy. Of course, I'm going to do it.
And then there is Nazir Jaffer, joking with others around the clinic.
So I showed him my number and I told him, you have to run fast now in order to catch me.
With his true motivation driven by a sense of service and gratitude.
And I'm thankful to God for giving me this opportunity to help the sick people.
Catherine Ward, Global News, Toronto.
Marking a historic first for the Refugee Olympic team. We'll explain next. We usually think of the different countries that participate in the Olympic Games. But there's another team that gets less attention, the Refugee Olympic team. It was created in 2015 to draw attention to the global migration and refugee crisis. And tonight, a groundbreaking moment. Cindy Nagamba is the first ever athlete from the Refugee Olympic team to secure an Olympic medal by reaching the semifinals of women's boxing in her weight class. Nagamba was born in Cameroon and has lived in the UK since she was 11 years old. Competing in the Olympics is a dream come true for athletes who can't participate under a country's flag. And when it comes to the spirit of the Games, they want to lead by example.
It sends a strong message of hope and solidarity, shows that refugees are not forgotten, shows that we can also compete at a big stage.
I feel like it's also a responsibility because we get such a big platform. So maybe we can spread the messages that we want to spread to through our team, through the different platforms that we get as an athletes.
Nigara Shaheen, who's originally from Afghanistan and competing in judo, says she's grateful for what Canada has given her over the last 2 years.
Coming to Canada was like an immense opportunity, huge opportunity, but at the same time I had to say bye to my parents for the second time. So it's like a lot of problems, but I'm thankful to sports, to judo, that helped me to get through all these things.
And that is Global National for this Sunday night. I'm Tracy Tong. Tonight's Your Canada is Echo Lake near Lumbee, British Columbia. Thanks for watching. Hope you'll join us again tomorrow. Have a great night.